At the state capitol in St. Paul, a new report is shedding light on the budgetary hurdles Minnesota may face in the future.
ABC 6 News reporter Alex Karwowski has been diving into these numbers and speaking with local lawmakers. He has more on the state budget forecast.
Minnesota is looking at a $2.5 billion surplus for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. But for 2028 through 2029, we could see a nearly $3 billion deficit. It wasn't long ago that Minnesota had a multi-billion-dollar surplus under Governor Walz. But now, the future of the state's finances are looking a lot less steady. When I talk to Democrats, they tell me the looming deficit is largely at the fault of President Trump and due to the cuts in the spending bill he signed into law.
The Minnesota budget is always very dependent on the national economic scene. So it's kind of like when the federal government sneezes, Minnesota and the other states all catch a cold.
But Republican Senator Carla Nelson tells me it was the Democrats in D.C. who prevented the spending bill from passing that clarified the federal budget.
It's unfortunate that the Democrats out in Washington, D.C., it took 6 of them in the Senate to stop the block on the continuing resolution to come forward, and it took them several weeks and months to do that.
Democratic Senator Liz Bolden says the investments made in the state's budgets now and in the past have been critical for Minnesotans.
We have made important investments. We invested in Minnesotans, invested in working families.
But Carla Nelson says work to close gaps in the rampant amount of fraud targeting taxpayer money hasn't been happening.
It was shelved. Couldn't get a hearing, tried to address it as an amendment. It was voted down. So I'm just saying it's not new.
In terms of how to address the projected deficit, Bolden's plan is simple.
Gathering information and listening to Minnesotans is really the most important. One of the most important things I think I do is listening to my constituents and hearing what is happening in people's lives.
But Nelson says zeroing in on fraud is overdue.
And Minnesota has to get very serious about cracking down on fraud, making sure that all of our taxpayer dollars are being used wisely.
Now, it's important to note that the $3 billion deficit is only a projection, and legislators still need to work to balance the budget. I'm told there will be another budget outlook next year. In the newsroom, Alex Karwowski, ABC 6 News.